Welcome. Before we delve into the depths of human experience, I invite you to take a brief moment to subscribe to this channel. By doing so, you ensure that you will continue to explore profound reflections on life, wisdom, and the enduring power of the human spirit. Now, let us begin a journey into understanding the wisdom that arises from pain, as seen through the lens of philosophy. Throughout history, human beings have grappled with suffering in countless forms. Pain, both physical and emotional, has been a constant companion of existence. Yet, paradoxically, it is often through suffering that some of the most profound insights emerge. Philosophers from diverse traditions, Eastern, Western, and beyond, have long argued that suffering is not merely an affliction to be avoided, but a teacher, a crucible in which the spirit is refined. In this exploration, we will consider how suffering shapes the human condition, illuminates the mind, and ultimately nurtures wisdom. From the ancient Stoics to modern thinkers, the recognition that hardship can yield knowledge has been a recurring theme. Stoicism, in particular, provides a framework for understanding pain as an essential component of personal growth. Epictetus, a Stoic philosopher who endured slavery and physical hardship, maintained that the way we respond to adversity determines the quality of our lives. Pain, in his view, is inevitable. Suffering, however, is optional, contingent upon our judgments and perceptions. To live wisely, he asserted, is to cultivate inner resilience, to accept what cannot be changed, and to focus one's energy on what can be directed. The mind, the character, and the virtues we develop in response to circumstance. Consider the idea of perception as a filter for experience. Pain is universal, yet its psychological impact varies greatly among individuals. One person may face the loss of a loved one and descend into despair, while another finds in the same experience an opportunity for reflection, empathy, and growth. This distinction is critical. Philosophical traditions emphasize that suffering becomes instructive only when met with reflection, self-awareness, and a willingness to extract meaning from adversity. Without reflection, pain can become destructive, but with contemplation, it transforms into a teacher whose lessons endure. Eastern philosophy offers complementary insights. Buddhism, for instance, places suffering at the very center of its understanding of life. The Four Noble Truths begin with the acknowledgement that suffering, or dukkha, is an inescapable aspect of human existence. Rather than denying this reality, Buddhism encourages individuals to recognize suffering clearly, to understand its causes, and to cultivate a path toward liberation through mindfulness, compassion, and ethical living. Here, suffering is not merely a burden. It is a lens through which the impermanent and interconnected nature of life is revealed. Pain, therefore, is both a mirror and a guide, showing the limitations of attachment and the ways in which desire and aversion create our own distress. The Western existentialists, writing centuries later, arrived at a parallel understanding from a different angle. Thinkers such as Friedrich Nietzsche emphasized the transformative potential of suffering. Nietzsche's concept of amor fati, the love of one's fate, encourages embracing life's challenges, however painful, as necessary components of one's personal evolution. He famously suggested that those who have endured suffering deeply are often the ones who achieve profound insight and creative power. To confront suffering courageously is to confront the very essence of existence, and in doing so, one discovers the capacity to grow beyond previous limitations. There is also a practical, observable dimension to the philosophy of suffering. Psychological research supports the notion that adversity can foster resilience, empathy, and emotional intelligence. Post-traumatic growth, a concept developed in modern psychology, describes the phenomenon in which individuals experience positive transformation following significant hardship. People who endure loss, illness, or failure often report heightened appreciation for life, stronger relationships, and a more profound sense of purpose. While this growth is not automatic, pain is neither inherently virtuous nor guaranteed to teach. It demonstrates that the philosophical insights of the past are echoed in contemporary scientific understanding. Suffering, in this sense, is both universal and deeply personal. It intersects with our moral, intellectual, and emotional lives, challenging assumptions, testing patience, and demanding reflection. Consider, for instance, the loss of a career or the end of a long-standing relationship. Such experiences are often accompanied by feelings of injustice, anger, or despair. Yet, within the same crucible, one may discover new priorities, unrecognized strengths, or a deeper appreciation for the people and moments that truly matter. Here, the lesson of philosophy becomes tangible. The adversity itself is not the enemy. It is the raw material from which wisdom and understanding can emerge. Philosophers have also reflected on the social dimensions of suffering. Pain is not experienced in isolation. It is intertwined with the lives of others. Empathy, compassion, and moral responsibility are often cultivated in the presence of suffering. The recognition that others endure pain encourages ethical behavior, nurturing relationships, and fostering a sense of solidarity. In this way, suffering serves as a bridge between self-awareness and social conscience, guiding individuals toward a life that is not only reflective but morally engaged. It is important, however, to acknowledge the limits of suffering as a teacher. Not all hardship automatically leads to wisdom. Excessive or unmitigated suffering can overwhelm, distort, or paralyze. Philosophical guidance, therefore, is not a call to seek pain, but to engage with the inevitable difficulties of life with attentiveness, courage, and thoughtful reflection. The aim is not to glorify suffering, but to recognize its potential to illuminate, clarify, and deepen our understanding of ourselves and the world. History provides countless examples of individuals who exemplified this principle. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, endured the immense responsibilities of leadership, personal loss, and the hardships of war. Yet, his writings reveal a remarkable capacity to transform these challenges into reflections on virtue, mortality, and the transient nature of life. Aurelius' meditations remain a testament to the idea that suffering, when approached with mindfulness and reflection, can cultivate wisdom, humility, and resilience. Similarly, the contemplative traditions of Christianity emphasize the redemptive dimension of suffering. Saints, mystics, and thinkers have often described pain as a vehicle for spiritual awakening, moral growth, and the deepening of love. Suffering, in this context, is intertwined with purpose, inviting individuals to align their lives with higher principles, to cultivate patience, and to extend compassion to others who struggle. Here, philosophy and spirituality converge, suggesting that the reflective engagement with suffering transcends mere endurance. It becomes a transformative journey toward insight and ethical maturity. In considering the wisdom that emerges from pain, it is also instructive to explore the philosophical concept of impermanence. The recognition that suffering is transient, that all experiences, including the most intense distress, pass with time, is central to many schools of thought. This perspective fosters patience and perspective, reducing the tendency to despair and encouraging individuals to seek meaning in the midst of difficulty. By viewing suffering as part of a larger flow of life, rather than as an absolute or permanent state, one cultivates resilience and the capacity to learn from adversity rather than being consumed by it. Practical reflection is equally crucial. Journaling, meditation, philosophical inquiry, and dialogue are all methods through which individuals can process suffering and extract its lessons. Pain, when examined thoughtfully, can reveal assumptions about the self, the world, and the nature of happiness. It challenges superficial understandings, forcing us to confront reality as it is, rather than as we wish it to be. In this confrontation, clarity emerges. We come to recognize the impermanence of worldly attachments, the limits of control, and the profound significance of character, choice, and intention. It is also noteworthy that suffering often catalyzes creativity and insight. Artists, writers, and thinkers frequently draw upon personal adversity to illuminate universal truths. The intensity of emotion generated by hardship can inspire reflection, invention, and expression, allowing individual experience to resonate with the broader human condition. Philosophy itself, as a discipline devoted to exploring the human experience, is enriched by the presence of suffering. Pain is not merely a subject for ethical reflection or metaphysical inquiry. It is a lived reality that shapes the questions we ask, the values we hold, and the insights we achieve. As we begin to synthesize these reflections, a pattern becomes clear. Suffering, when approached with awareness, courage, and intentionality, fosters insight that transcends the immediate discomfort. The philosopher's task is not to eliminate pain. This is often impossible, but to cultivate the discernment and resilience necessary to learn from it. Through reflection, one develops the capacity to perceive the interconnectedness of life, the moral dimensions of experience, and the fleeting nature of hardship. In this sense, the wisdom of suffering is both practical and existential. It equips us to live more deliberately, ethically, and deeply. In conclusion of this first part, we begin to see that the philosophy of suffering is not an abstract exercise but a guide to living. It encourages us to confront pain with attentiveness, to seek understanding amidst adversity, and to recognize that the lessons derived from suffering are often among the most profound and enduring. Pain, properly understood, is neither meaningless nor purely destructive. It is a catalyst for reflection, compassion, and self-realization. As we prepare to continue this exploration in the second part, we will examine further dimensions of suffering. The ethical, creative, and spiritual insights that emerge when one engages with life's challenges fully, intentionally, and wisely. As we continue to explore the profound relationship between suffering and wisdom, it becomes essential to examine the ethical and spiritual dimensions of pain. Philosophy teaches us that suffering is not merely a personal ordeal but a force that can shape our moral understanding, deepen our empathy, and guide us toward more meaningful lives. While the first part highlighted the reflective and cognitive benefits of engaging with pain, this second part emphasizes the ways in which adversity molds character, informs ethical choices, and inspires purpose. Throughout history, individuals who have faced profound suffering have often reported a transformation in their priorities and values. Consider those who have endured oppression, injustice, or extreme personal loss. Philosophical reflection on such experiences reveals that the crucible of hardship often illuminates what is truly important: compassion, resilience, integrity, and the cultivation of virtue. The Stoics, in particular, viewed the development of moral character as inseparable from the experience of difficulty. For them, virtues such as courage, temperance, justice, and wisdom are not theoretical ideals but practical skills honed through real-life challenges. Adversity becomes the laboratory in which these virtues are tested, refined, and internalized. Ethical growth through suffering is closely tied to the cultivation of empathy. Pain, when recognized and reflected upon, fosters an understanding of the suffering of others. The philosopher David Hume, for instance, emphasized that moral sentiments are grounded in the capacity to feel and respond to the experiences of others. Those who have endured hardship often develop a heightened sensitivity to injustice and the struggles of those around them. In this way, personal suffering extends beyond the individual, contributing to a more ethical and compassionate society. One's pain becomes a bridge to collective understanding, transforming isolation into connection and adversity into a source of social awareness. Another significant dimension of suffering lies in its capacity to clarify purpose. Viktor Frankl, the renowned psychiatrist and Holocaust survivor, offered profound insights into the meaning that can emerge from suffering. His experiences in concentration camps revealed that even in the most extreme adversity, individuals can find purpose and dignity. According to Frankl, the human spirit is capable of transcending suffering when one identifies meaning in life, even in circumstances of profound deprivation. Philosophy and psychology converge in this understanding. Pain is not merely a negative experience but an invitation to discover, reaffirm, or redefine one's purpose. By confronting suffering deliberately, we can transform it into a source of direction, resilience, and inner strength. Suffering also challenges our understanding of control and acceptance. Many philosophical traditions emphasize the importance of discerning between what can be changed and what must be endured. Epictetus' Stoic insights remind us that while external circumstances may be beyond our control, our responses, attitudes, and judgments remain ours to govern. This distinction is liberating. It shifts the focus from futile resistance to the cultivation of inner strength. Acceptance does not imply passivity or resignation but a profound recognition of reality as it is, accompanied by the conscious effort to act virtuously within that reality. Furthermore, adversity often catalyzes creativity and intellectual insight. Artists, writers, and thinkers have historically transformed personal suffering into works of enduring value. The intensity of experience generated by pain can inspire reflection, expression, and innovation, allowing individual insights to resonate universally. Philosophical inquiry itself is frequently motivated by the challenges of human existence. Questions about justice, mortality, purpose, and the nature of happiness often emerge most clearly in moments of difficulty. In this sense, suffering is not an obstacle to understanding but a stimulus for the deepest inquiries of the human mind. Spiritual traditions across cultures echo this insight. In Christianity, Buddhism, Hinduism, and other systems of thought, suffering is often interpreted as a transformative force that fosters moral and spiritual development. Christian mystics, for example, have written extensively about the redemptive power of suffering, emphasizing that trials can cultivate patience, humility, and love for others. Similarly, Buddhist teachings encourage mindfulness in the face of pain, showing how careful awareness of suffering can lead to insight, compassion, and liberation. These perspectives converge on a critical philosophical truth. Suffering, when engaged with consciously and ethically, can elevate human understanding and promote holistic growth. It is also worth considering the social and communal aspects of suffering. Shared adversity can unite individuals, communities, and even entire societies. Philosophical reflection highlights the ways in which collective suffering fosters solidarity, compassion, and social cohesion. Wars, pandemics, natural disasters, and social injustices reveal the interconnectedness of human lives, prompting cooperation, mutual support, and ethical action. Pain, in this sense, extends beyond individual experience, shaping the moral and cultural fabric of communities. By reflecting on suffering collectively, philosophy invites us to consider not only personal growth but also the responsibilities we bear toward one another. Suffering's lessons are often subtle and gradual. It does not always announce itself as a teacher, and its wisdom may only be recognized in retrospect. Reflection, patience, and attentiveness are required to discern the insights hidden within adversity. Journaling, dialogue, philosophical study, and meditation are practical tools for cultivating this awareness. Through these practices, individuals can analyze their experiences, recognize recurring patterns, and extract meaning from the most challenging moments of life. The philosopher's task, therefore, is not to avoid pain but to engage with it deliberately, cultivating understanding, virtue, and resilience through thoughtful reflection. Modern psychological research reinforces these philosophical insights. Studies on resilience and post-traumatic growth demonstrate that individuals who navigate adversity with reflection, social support, and adaptive coping strategies often emerge stronger, more empathetic, and more purpose-driven. While suffering can be overwhelming and debilitating, it also holds the potential for profound personal development. Philosophy and psychology converge in recognizing that the conscious engagement with hardship transforms it from a purely negative experience into a source of lasting wisdom and growth. In practical terms, this engagement requires a shift in perspective. Rather than asking why suffering exists or lamenting its presence, philosophy encourages inquiry into what can be learned from it and how it can shape character. This approach does not diminish the reality of pain, but empowers individuals to respond creatively, ethically, and courageously. By reframing suffering as an opportunity for reflection and growth, one cultivates agency, moral insight, and resilience. Examples from literature and history abound. Think of the countless authors, philosophers, and leaders who endured personal suffering and channeled it into works of enduring significance. From the meditations of Marcus Aurelius to the writings of Simone Weil, from the poetry of Rainer Maria Rilke to the reflections of Viktor Frankl, the human capacity to extract wisdom from pain is evident. These individuals demonstrate that suffering, when approached consciously, is not an endpoint but a conduit to deeper understanding, ethical development, and creative expression. Importantly, The philosophy of suffering is not an invitation to seek pain or to glorify it. Pain itself is often unwanted, unavoidable, and challenging. The philosophical insight lies not in the experience of suffering but in the deliberate engagement with it. By reflecting on suffering, seeking meaning, and cultivating virtues such as patience, courage, and empathy, individuals transform adversity into a source of insight and moral growth. In this way, suffering becomes a partner in human development rather than a purely destructive force. The culmination of this understanding is the recognition that wisdom itself is intimately linked to the human experience of adversity. Those who have faced loss, failure, injustice, or profound challenge often develop a perspective on life that is nuanced, compassionate, and grounded in reality. They recognize the impermanence of circumstances, the limits of control, and the importance of moral and ethical engagement. Philosophy, in its study of suffering, teaches that wisdom is not abstract or detached but lived, embodied, and earned through experience. In conclusion, the lessons of suffering are manifold. Pain challenges, tests, and transforms, offering insight into character, morality, and purpose. Philosophical traditions, both Eastern and Western, highlight the reflective engagement with adversity as a path to wisdom, ethical growth, and spiritual depth. Modern psychological research corroborates these insights, demonstrating that adversity can foster resilience, empathy, and meaning. Suffering, when approached consciously and ethically, becomes a profound teacher, illuminating the nature of life, human relationships, and the self. Ultimately, the wisdom that arises from pain is an invitation to live more fully, consciously, and ethically. It reminds us that adversity is inevitable, but our response to it is a matter of choice. By cultivating reflection, moral discernment, and resilience, we transform suffering into a source of growth, purpose, and insight. Philosophy, in guiding this process, offers both clarity and inspiration. It shows us that even in the depths of pain, there is the potential for understanding, connection, and the cultivation of the virtues that define a life well lived. As we reflect on these truths, it becomes evident that suffering, while difficult, is not meaningless. It is a mirror that reveals the contours of our character, a guide that illuminates ethical and spiritual pathways, and a crucible in which wisdom is forged. By embracing this perspective, we honor the transformative potential of adversity, finding in our most challenging experiences the seeds of insight, compassion, and enduring growth.